Okay, so as a preface, this video is aimed to be as basic as possible, unlike my last quickie. So if you're beating 200 NL before Black Friday, this probably isn't for you. If you're playing 100 NL or lower, especially like 25 NL, whether you were winning or not, and now you're trying to play more live, this video is definitely geared towards you. It's important to be confident when you head into the live arena. And if you're coming from 25 NL or 50 NL, basically the lowest games being spread in most US or Canadian or European casinos are around 200 NL as far as I know. And here in Peru, the lowest game is 200 NL as well, for what it's worth. So it's important to be confident that you know what you're doing, what to look for and work on when you're playing 4 or 8 times the stakes that you're used to. And like I said, I'm going to talk about a very specific thing with these two hands, basically how villains value bet or how they're not capable of value betting and how you should interpret their bets with that in mind. I think Vital Myth and Nikolak have some really good videos out that deal with a lot of different broad categories. I should also say that bring your iPod to play live, and you should definitely use the Notepad app to make notes of a hand that happened so you have an easy hand history, because you may think you're going to remember it accurately, but it's pretty hard to do if you play like 10 interesting hands in a session. So I just whip out my iPod after a hand and take notes of what happened, and then I won't need to worry about reproducing it accurately later. Okay, so this in mind, let's get to our first very basic hand, and I want to start with a central idea. According to Skolansky's theory of poker, a bet's either for value or as a bluff, and he includes semi-bluffs in the bluff category, and it's a pretty limiting definition. But just because there might be more reasons to bet other than value or as a bluff or as a semi-bluff doesn't mean that we can't use that dichotomy effectively. And how that's going to relate to how we navigate live situations is the first rule of live play is that live players can't value bet thinly. And this becomes true the worse player they are and the older they are, as well as a few other factors. But in general, they can't value bet thin. So when they're making bets on the river, especially in position when they could check down, they're often way more polarized than someone online at 25 NL, for example. Even a drooler. They don't go to showdown very often, so it's not as if they're in a position to value bet a river thinly very often, and moreover, they're not thinking about it. So when they have a good hand, their main goal is to get to see if it wins on the river. That's really important to keep in mind of this context of value betting versus bluffing. And our second idea that we're going to use to contrast that is that live players make purposeless bets. So if there's a spot such that a bet should only be for value or as a bluff, there's no other reason, they're capable of betting without purpose. So what that means is they can make a bet with a showdown hand that only gets called by better and folds all worse. And these bets can be made on the flop, turn, or river. I don't make too much of an effort trying to figure out what these live players are doing in these spots, just like I don't make too much of an effort trying to figure out why they would isolate 5 limpers to 3x. There's definitely a lot to be said about getting your opponent's heads, but if you're going to be playing low stakes live, like I do, and by low stakes I mean 200 NL and 400 NL, those are the games I'm playing, and those are the lowest stakes that I know get spread regularly. If you're going to be playing those lower limits, there's something to be said for treating your opponents like autonomous, poorly programmed robots whose behavior should just be understood by collecting empirical evidence through observation and not frustrating yourself by trying to figure out their thought processes. That's just going to lead to a lot of frustration on your part. Don't rationalize it, just accept it. There's no deeper truth or meaning, and if you want deeper truth or meaning, bring an audiobook on your iPod.